Well, okay. So today's topic is actually based on this what double heterogeneous structure of LED and its two variants. In detail, we already discussed in the last two sessions about this why we are going for this double heterostructure of LED or light emitter device and how it is going to resolve your carrier confinement and optical confinement problems and going to give you a coherent light by resolving both the issues. So today we'll look into two different variations of the LED, which are also very important aspects to be discussed in this Model 3. So two basic LED configurations are one is surface emitter that is coming under the direct band gap material, and another next one we are going to see the edge emitter that is coming under the indirect band gap material sections. So under this one, surface emitter configuration of LED, that is heterogeneous structure configuration. So the diagram will looks like this. So what you have seen here, the gallium aluminum arsenide double heterostructure of LED. It is the layered structure. In one strip he has given in figure A. In figure B, the energy profile, band gap energy profile, and the figure C will give the refractive index profile. So in another way, the representing this figure, that is surface emitter LED, is the actual structure is like this. The all the things will be depicted in this figure itself. Okay. So the main point how we have to begin to discuss about this. You have to practice the diagram. So one hint I want to give is you better to start with this rectangular structure consisting of the outermost the metallization. Below that the substrate will be there, and below that you can see how many rectangular sections and their widths, varying widths are there. Don't simply draw these things because I have seen some of your drawing simply with a free hand and roughly you're drawing the structures that is not going to give you the full marks. So that you keep in mind. The important thing is these three middle layers, which are depicted as confinement layers, which are thin compared to the lower three layers, which are named as silicon dioxide isolation, metallization, and like this. 1 minute. Yes. Sorry for the disturbance. So what I am saying, uh, we'll focus on these confinement layers. The structure is thin compared to these three layers are very thin, which are actually named as, here you can say they are going to contribute for this double heterojunction layers. This layer is a minus P layer made up of aluminum gallium arsenide. The middle layer is a P layer, small p, it is not capital, small p, made up of gallium arsenide, and P plus it will be made up of gallium arsenide. So P minus and P plus are actually heavily doped compared to this one, the middle one. So the minus P and plus P are at the edges as far as the doping concentration is concerned, and they are acting like cladding of your fiber. The middle layer, which is made up of the P layer, made up of gallium arsenide, having the well. Coming to the discussion, we are talking about the structure of this surface emitter, which is coming under the direct band gap materials. So totally how many layers are there? Just you see, I am telling how to draw this one to begin. One, two, three. First two layers, top two layers, middle three, and bottom three. Total eight layers will be there. Roughly you draw it. Later, according to the structure, you remember and modify the things. That will be very easy to give the rectangular substrate structure for this surface emitter. Keep in mind the width of the layers, the outermost metallization, and these three thin layers, confinement layers. Sorry for the disturbance. Are same. Later, the width will slightly increasing for the lower three layers, and middle substrate is a bit wide. So I'll also give you the reason why it will be kept wide, because to form this etched well, so to dig this well where your fiber is to be inserted, or to make a provision to be connected as a connector. So this etching well they wanted, well kind of structure they wanted in this surface emitter. It actually looks like this. It is like this one. So where the fiber is coming and making a contact with these three confinement or layers or double heterojunction layers, because these three layers are similar in characteristics to the two cladding and one core layers of the fiber, and this is the middle P core layer where the recombination process is happening. That is actually known as the active layer. So one thing you remember, this is the active region where recombination is happening is going to be the heart of the operation of this any kind of LED, maybe surface or edge emitters or aluminum previous one. So this is about what you have to begin and initially start with the explaining about the structure. The rest you can start with explaining about the conformant layers. The middle layer of this double electron junction layer is a P type made up of gallium arsenide. Its refractive index will be kept very high compared to the two side layers, surrounding layers, that is the top one minus P, that is made up of aluminum gallium arsenide, and the bottom one plus P gallium arsenide. Their doping profiles are very high. That's why they are named as the minus and plus based on their concentration of dopings, which will be kept at the edges. So refractive index profile of this core, this P layer, middle layer is acting like a core, will be kept a little bit higher than the two surrounding layers, minus P and plus P. Their refractive indices are a little bit less to match with the characteristics of the core and cladding of your fiber. Because whatever the recombination is happening and the photons are liberating, no light is operating here in the core, P gallium arsenide. That will be uh, comfortably coupled to the fiber. So that's why these minus P and plus P layers are also acting like a light guiding layers here, as you have seen in case of this here. N type and P type gallium emitters, and in case of JALS emitter. Here also, these two layers minus P and plus P, this one, are acting like a light confinement layers or light guiding layers. They will helpful in coupling whatever the light which will be formed by the recombination in the middle P layer be confined or coupled to the fiber comfortably without any loss. So that is the objective and the main job of minus P and plus P layers. They are acting like a light guiding layers, and middle P layer is serving like a active layer where the recombination process is happening. So that's why you can see these three layers are kept very much thin. That is another reason we can quote to increase the radiance or brightness of the light by letting the recombination to happen in this small region. And below that you got silicon dioxide isolation layers. So these layers are called isolation because they are going to isolate this metallization from the remaining structure. That's why these are known as silicon dioxide isolation layers. Above that you got the substrate. The main function of the substrate is to inject more number of majority carriers in the top layer so that they'll be made to fall more in number to the bottom layer, let more recombination to happen in this active layer, and we'll be getting more coherent light by these three layers. So job of substrate is to inject more majority carriers into these confinement layers. So above that you got the metallization made for the connection, and above that you got the we'll come to that later. Here you got two metallization layers are there. This one, the top one, and another one here below the silicon dioxide isolation layer. So whatever the metal contact you are going to make with this and this will be isolated from this metal structure by the silicon dioxide isolation layer. So circular metal contact is there here, a small gap with this structure. Heat sink, the bottom layer is acting like a heat sink to whatever the heat will be liberated, that will be uh, allowed to go out to improve the performance of this surface emitter. So your fiber is coming and making a contact with this metal confinement layers with the help of these metallizations. Okay. So this bonding material will be there bonding material which is there. uh, why it is called bonding? Because it is going to bond comfortably between this fiber and this well HDBL, circular HDBL. So this Velox structure is made with one reason. So whatever the light you are going to get to be emitted from this active layer, no, it is something like I think for you people to understand it very easily. If you look at our torch, torch lights are there, no. So the small bulb will be kept inside some such kind of a HDBL. It's something like focusing. Even your street lights or whatever the car lights or your headlamps of your vehicles, if you take, no, they are like a dome shaped. It is meant for focusing the light, making it is going to uh, add in extra add in to the radiance what you are getting by these confinement layers or light guiding layers. Of course, light guiding layers are going to help the optical confinement, means they are going to contributing much to the coherency or increasing the radiance of the emitted light. But along with this, we are also getting extra contribution from this HDBL. This is also going to contribute much, little bit for this uh, coherency or radiance improvement of your emitted light from this active layer. So for that purpose, this HDBL will be made, and that will be filled with this bonding material to bond the external thing what you are going want to connect the fiber with this these three confinement layers. So the active area is circular. You can see active area, whatever the radiation you are getting, the light you are getting, the light pattern, it is actually circular with the 50 micrometer in diameter and 2.5 micrometer thick, and emission pattern is going to be 120 degrees, something like this. So it is isotropic in nature. So whatever the light you are getting, no, so from this one, this active layer, it is having the pattern isotropic in nature. Isotropic means it is the whatever the light rays you are getting are equally directed in all the equally emitted in the all the directions, with the maximum power in the middle and the power reduced to half at these things. Means at 120 degree you are getting the half power beam width, and this kind of a pattern is known as the Lambertian pattern. So power is decreased to 120, that is half power, with the function of the cosine of the angle, that is cos of theta. So that's why you can see cos of 0, that is maximum in the middle, and it goes on decreasing until become half at 120 degrees. Okay. So active region is approximately 50 micrometer in diameter, 2.5 micrometer thick. That is going to give such kind of the isotropic pattern of the emitted light with a maximum power in the middle, but we refer to the 120 degree half power beamwidth, that is a more focused one. But the problem is that the coupling is not good, is telling, and highly divergent because of this one. Even that's why you can say, because the pattern for the emitted light is resembling the circular structure, so it is divergent in all the direction. That's why we are referring to take the power at least from 120 degrees, so that it is appears to be little bit convergent at 120 degree compared to this isotropic. Okay. So next one, what we are getting, edge emitter. Its structure is like this. So hope this point is clear. So you have to draw this diagram. This is also known as Burroughs or front emitters. Both names are same. Okay. So you have to begin with drawing this with these layers, keeping in mind their widths. That you keep in mind. Don't draw simply the substrate is thin and bottom layers are go on increasing their widths. Not like that. You have to keep in mind their widths, exact widths, and draw the proper and neat diagram. And accordingly, you start explaining. So how you are drawing, in that way you draw the explaining the structure, and later you can explain about the operational aspects with respect to the three confinement layers. That is, the active layer is the main heart of the operation part, where recombination is happening. How the surrounding two layers are acting like a cladding or light guiding layers, with the middle layer as a core, and why this etching well is made, and how we are going to get in operational part. You can explain these things. This one, radiation pattern, and those things. So this is all about surface emitter LED. So next one we'll go with the edge emitter. So edge emitter again, this is a side view. You can see again the light guiding layers, which are made up of. So don't confuse between these three layers. Their composition is different. Sorry. Yes. So in the surface emitter, so three layers are of course minus P, middle P, and plus P, and their composition is different. Material composition. There you can see top is aluminum gallium arsenide and remaining two are gallium arsenide. Here you can see all the three layers are made up of aluminum gallium arsenide. Again the same thing, the middle P is acting like a core with a higher refractive index compared to the other two plus P and minus P. So there the top layer is minus P and plus P, and here it is reversed, plus P and minus P. So this you keep in mind, don't confuse, because I've seen many times you got confused and drawing these things. You need to mention either in the diagram or you have to explain it in your answers. So what these three confinement layers or double heterojunction layers are composed of and how they are going to behave. Below that, you got n-type substrate. Wherever you get substrate, its main function is to contribute, inject more majority carriers into these light guiding layers. So light guiding layers, refractive index is a little bit less than the refractive index of the middle one, and middle one refractive index is a little bit greater than the n-type substrate. So this uh, particular rule should be followed in edge emitter or surface emitter. So how the refractive index of the P middle layer is more than the surrounding minus P and plus P layers, and the refractive index of minus P plus P layers it is like this. Light guiding layers, their refractive index is less than the refractive index of the middle one. So this one particular thing you have to, key thing you have to explain the refractive index profile. So the middle one, the P aluminum gallium arsenide is acting like an active layer where recombination is happening, and where incoherent optical output beam we are getting like this. So compared to the surface emitter, the sorry, edge emitter will be giving you uh, incoherent optical output beam. In case of surface emitter, it is isotropic, more divergent. Now here it is a little bit coherent. So highly focused beam you are going to get. That's what is useful for the long distance communication. And to above that, you can see a stripe contact here. As a silicon dioxide isolation will be kept above these layers to isolate from the outermost metallization where electrical contact is going to come with the confinement layers. So the confinement layers are properly isolated by the silicon dioxide from the outermost metallization layer. Below these heterogeneous layers, we got a substrate, and below that we got metallization for the contact, and below out bottom layer will be the meant for the heat sink to improve the performance of this edge emitter. So as far as the operational aspects are concerned, the active region here it is going to be 50 to 70 micrometer wide with 100 to 150 micrometer long. With emission pattern, it is like this: Lambertian 120-degree horizontally. With the proper choice of waveguide thickness, you will get 25 to 35-degree vertically. Uh, what you can say, concentrated beam will get. So it is better than surface emitter, and that too we can enhance its performance if you use a low numerical aperture materials. It couples more light than surface LED. If you can use uh, the low numerical aperture material characteristic, it can enhance uh, its efficiency, more coherent light than the surface emitter. So like that, this all about guys two variations of the LED structures. We started with this one gallium aluminum arsenide that we detailed in detail we discussed. Then we gone in discussion about the two variations of the LED structures: surface LED uh, and another one edge emitter or edge LED. So later we are concluding that edge LED is going to give you a better performance than the surface LED by looking at its emission pattern is highly convergent or directional compared to the surface LED. So like that, you have to draw wherever the necessary diagrams are required and have to explain in your own sentences. Later, we look into light source materials a little bit. So the problem here is that only in direct band gap material, the radiative, because we have seen that when we are discussing about the direct band gap, the emitted light is highly directional in one direction. Emitted in one direction, more coherent we got in direct band gap compared to indirect band. Because indirect band gap materials, we have seen that uh, the radiation will be added in one direction and subtracted in another direction. But this optical emission, to get it from the directional or coherent thing, what we are getting, it is from possible from the direct band gap material. But no any single element semiconductors are direct band gap material. That is the problem. Okay. So the problem is that no any single element semiconductors are direct gap materials like these things. We have to go for doping thing only. So for example, like this, we'll go for the combination. Important ternary material used for the operation are in the range from 800 to 900 nanometer technology. And one thing you remember, so X, wherever we'll use X from now onwards, you remember it is the ratio of aluminum arsenide to gallium arsenide. Okay, it is the ratio of moles of aluminum arsenide to the moles of gallium arsenide. That decides actually the band gap of this alloy and hence the wavelength of the emitted light. Okay, the wavelength of the emitted light depends on this X. That is a ratio of aluminum arsenide to the gallium arsenide moles. Okay, if you look at this one, as this aluminum mole fraction will go on increasing in this ratio X. What is X? X is the ratio of Al mole to gallium mole. If you go on increasing this Al mole in this fraction X, then band gap energy you can see will go on increasing. So this depends on the Al mole fraction in this X. If you go on varying this Al mole, that is going to give you the varied band gap energy. Whereas in indirect band gap, it is like this. We cannot define it properly. This is at the prescribed temperature 10 degree Kelvin. We got this characteristics. So for the typical parameters, like with by keeping x equal to 0.08, that is the ratio of aluminum to gallium uh, moles ratio. with the peak, we are getting with this mole concentration, we are getting a peak output power of 8 and 10 nanometer with a 36 nanometer bandwidth. That is actually known as a full width half maximum. The spectral pattern at its half power point, that is 36 nanometers for this one. If you look into this typical numerical, let us take at a longer wavelengths, the quaternary alloy is given by this indication, that is indium to suffix 1 minus x, gallium to the suffix x, arsenic to the suffix y, and p to the suffix 1 minus y is the main material used by varying the mole fractions x and y in the active region. Now LEDs with the peak output powers is given. We want to operate them in this LEDs with these peak powers 1 to 1.7 micrometer. We want to be constructed. Now the thing is that here one thing I want to tell you, when you are dealing with such kind of numericals, either they will be giving x and y values directly in the numerical in the problem, or they will be giving you the graph like this. Okay, from that you have to make out x and y values. Now this the composition graph actually referred from the textbook, that I not quoted here. This is this kind of graph only. So you can refer to the notes or the textbook, you will get it. From that graph, we are getting these values, or it will be mentioned. Okay. Right now, in the present discussion, we'll assume that it will be given or it will be taken from the particular graph. Okay. So in the exam, either they will be mentioning these values or they'll be giving you the graph. From that graph, you have to extract these values. Okay. So next is that the problem is will be asked like this: for an alloy indium 0.74, gallium 0.26 is given. These values are given to be used in LED. Find the emitted wavelength. Okay, you have to compare this one with this formula. Sorry, this one. Okay, En1 minus x. Hope you are understanding. En suffix en the 1 minus x. It is x and y and 1 minus y. So it is 1 minus x, x, y, and 1 minus y. So from these things, you have to extract x and y. Are you getting this one? So ಇದು problem actually ಹಿಂಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ, and you have to use this formula. En1 minus x means you have to compare 1 minus x equal to 0.74, and gallium is suffix x. X means here gallium 0.26, x means you will get directly x as 0.26. Similarly, as to the suffix y, you will get y as 0.57. So those things you can substitute here, the emitted wavelength formula, that is this formula, that is just depending on the y, not x here. On that you depends. So you can substitute, you'll get the emitted easy band gap energy will get. From this you will get the emitted wavelength, that is 1.24 by easy. Okay. So this how you have to solve. This one you have to remember. This will not be given. You ಕೆಲವೊಂದು refractive index ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಗ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ನೆಲ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೋತಿರಲ್ಲ, ಇದ್ರದ್ದು ಹಿಂಗೆ ನೆಲ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. If you refer to the notes there, you will come across later in further discussion. You come across some other alloys like aluminum, gallium arsenide. We have seen, no? Like that. This another one alloy made up of 4 elements: indium, gallium, arsenic, and phosphorus. Their suffixes you have to remember to extract x and y values. Then you can easily. So this is the formula we are using to find out the band gap energy, and this is the formula you are using the emitted wavelength from this LED. That is a lambda equal to 1.24 by easy. So in the next session, we will look into the further things, the quantum efficiency and the LED power. We'll stop now.